should do that. Hi there, it's Gina Gardner here, and welcome to our Genuine Chats. I'd like to introduce to those who don't know her already from our chats, Rachel Davidson, my good friend. Today's theme is around happiness, and it's one of those things that so many people want happiness. They just all the time, that's something that they feel the lack of. And I want to explore today why it is that so many people would like to be happy, and yet the levels of unhappiness are at an all-time high in the Western world.
It seems to be a constant thing that people chase, isn't it? And there's lots of memes on social media dealing with the subject of happiness and how to achieve it, and yet loads of people, you know, the statistics better than I, Gina, on antidepressants and serious ways of basically identifying the fact they are not happy.
I think one of the things is around the belief that happiness has to be something where everything in your world is absolutely perfect, and that, you know, it's an ephemeral thing, that you can just have little tiny bits of happiness and then something's going to come in and take all of that happiness away. And I think, you know, in today's Genuine Chat, I'd like to explore why it is that so many people struggle to feel happy.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, and sort of painting the opposite of happiness, which is terror, I guess.
Yeah, I think there are lots of opposites. I think fear is one of them, the fear of not having enough, the fear of not being enough, the fear that I won't cope with this, that it's all too much. But I also think that apathy is a huge negator of happiness. You know, people who think, actually, I can't be bothered, who think it's something that they don't want to get engaged. And, you know, even the simplest acts, if you get engaged in them, you can get great pleasure out of it, because there is a sense of achievement when you have done whatever it is.
Yeah, Brené Brown talks about this in several of her books.
Yes.
But in fact, actually, there was one piece in, I think it's the Daring Greatly book, that inspired the beginning of my first novel. And she talks about how people are frightened to feel joy.
I think they're frightened to feel almost anything.
Yeah, and she says, you know, that they become superstitious about being in the moment and joyful, that immediately they kick in with stories about disasters. So she talks about that moment where you're looking at your sleeping beautiful children, and your heart is absolutely swelling with love for them. And you can't believe that you're so lucky to have them in your life, and all this joyful feeling. And then immediately your brain starts to say, what if they were in a car accident? And you start to imagine all these terrifying. So you immediately flip to what scares you the most. And it is a truism that what gives you greatest joy in life can give you the greatest pain.
If it's withdrawn, or if you fear it's going to be withdrawn.
Yes, and so often where your pain is, which I think a lot of people are in touch with more than they are with what makes them happy potentially. If you feel where your pain is, then maybe that's how you, just as a bus so below, you flip it, and that will give you the lessons for how you become happier, more joyful, and actually exist within those feelings in equal measure.
I think, for me, balance and flow are two of the things that I think make a huge difference to the quality of our lives. I'm reminded, you know, and I think at a personal level, I have recognised in recent years that the energy that it takes to suppress negative emotions, to ignore them or to bury them, is huge. And there's always the worry that, you know, the dragon will get out of the box and you'll never be able to put the lid back on the box again. And one of the things that I've learned is that negative emotions have a purpose. They're there as a call to action to do something differently, or to recognise that one's core values are being in some way compromised, and that you need to look at what's going on and do that differently.
Because do you think that it is, when people say this, do you think they're right? They say that they can choose not to feel a certain set of emotions in favour of only feeling another set.
I think people attempt that, and I believe that's why so many people use alcohol, prescription drugs, non-prescription drugs, shopping, sex, a whole range of things to anaesthetise themselves, to try and suppress those feelings. And as a result, they not only don't deal with the issue, whatever that might be, but also they create all of these other difficulties, because the more you suppress these feelings, the more you don't want to feel them, the more that becomes what your life is about, rather than looking for joy. You're too busy trying to maintain and control these emotions so you don't feel them.
Yeah, I think a lot of society tends to fall into this sort of misconception that as human beings we are machines, and so we should be able to code our logic such that it is always working. And I used a quote by a journalist recently. I'm going to mangle his name, but Johan Harim, and he was talking about his depression. And how he was on serious depression medication from teenage years. And he talks about the fact that, if you're suffering from depression and anxiety, you are not a machine that needs to be fixed.
No.
You are a human being that is lacking in something, and that your emotions, which I would say is energy in motion, but your emotions are trying to inform you of this. They're trying to get you to recognise that something is wrong. And he talks about the fact that society at large needs to, stop trying to fix the machine, i.e. stop just doping yourself up to numb yourself, that you should search for the connection, search for what the soul in you is lacking.
I think it's interesting because, like all things, this is incredibly complex. We live at a time where dealing with life's normal challenges, exams, relationships, change, bereavement, have pretty well been medicalised. So I'm a governor of the local sixth form college, and we were talking about the huge rise in children who are at risk because of the state of mental health. And the two biggest risks that they were talking about was self-harm, and there seems to be an epidemic of young people, particularly girls, but not exclusively, self-harming. And for those of you that are maybe not aware of self-harming, one of the things it does is, as you cut yourself, the body, in its wish to protect you, releases endorphins. So you get a rush of endorphins, but of course it doesn't last. And so the need to self-harm gets greater and greater and greater. And it doesn't deal with the underlying problem, which is, I think, very often around self-worth and feeling as if you belong. One of the reasons why we've set up the Thrive Tribe is so that you can develop greater self-worth and confidence and have a sense of belonging and being validated. So that's one problem. And then a second problem, and again, much more common for boys, but not exclusively, is threatening suicide. And actually, sadly, across the country, the statistics are scary. The biggest killer of men under 40 is suicide. We were talking about that at the meeting, and one of the people said, if you look at the money that's spent on anti-terrorism, and I'm not suggesting for a moment that you shouldn't, but you look at the number of people killed through terrorism and the number of people killed through suicide, the funding is something like 25 to 1.
Yes, it's disproportional by a massive amount.
And, you know, I think we need as a society to look at why are so many people that unhappy that they are prepared to take their lives because they want to end the pain. And I think part of this is if we build in resilience right from tiny, that, you know, life doesn't always go as you want, but that's through those knocks, through those challenges, is how we develop a character and our capacity to deal with issues. But we're protected, and it's something to avoid. Now, I'm not suggesting that you'd walk into a situation in order to feel bad,
no,
but actually learning to deal with these things, to make lemons out of lemonade, to see the opportunity in the challenge is a skill set. I call it a skill set quite specifically, but one that actually sets you up for the whole of your life.
I really think that if you are denying the areas of your life where you feel stressed, anxious, fearful, if you shy away from those in some sort of attempt to protect yourself, what you are doing is cutting yourself off from all aspects of highs and lows.
So you're cutting yourself off from a huge chunk of you.
Yeah, and I think people sort of think of that as in, you know, you've got a choice, you can move from one to the other. But in reality, what you're doing is you're reducing and numbing. And that is where pain and unhappiness reside. So in trying to avoid pain and unhappiness, you go and create a situation where effectively that's all you can feel.
Yes, or you feel nothing.
And I don't believe that in the actual physicality of our humanness and our soul, I don't think it's possible to truly feel nothing.
Well, I do think it is if you then use these external things to anaesthetise yourself.
I think even then there is like this underlying call from the soul of you are suffering.
Yeah, I accept that.
You must, because I think to feel nothing means that you are deleted. And I don't think it's possible to delete a soul in our
Oh, yes, no, I think we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
I don't think that you delete yourself as a soul. I don't think that's possible. But I think in the moment, people are anaesthetised to feeling. And one of the reasons why I think that's the case is having, you know, there are some clients who come in who, at an emotional level, operate like an automaton. They don't feel any high, they don't feel any low. They walk through life as if they are unconscious, and nothing touches them. And I'm not suggesting that those are huge in number, but I do think that there are a lot of people who are attempting to put themselves in that place rather than feel the pain. And then as a result of that, they negate themselves from feeling any of the joy and happiness and incredible enthusiasm for life. And life is incredibly precious.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the Dalek syndrome, isn't it? Where you sort of you see it as a machine, and you can be fooled into thinking that it is just machine, and it therefore, you know, is just that. And then you actually open up the case, and there is something inside, something that actually has suffered very terribly and morphed itself into something pretty awful. But nevertheless, it is sentient. And I think people who avoid painful situations, they do the manifestation rule, the law of abundance rule, and they think about their pain and they try to avoid their pain.
And so it gets bigger. It gets more powerful.
Or smaller and smaller, like an imploding star.
But it's still there.
Much more dense, much more dense. The actual matter, the pain hasn't gone away in that sense. It's just coalesced into something much more critical, really.
It just strikes me that, you know, there's two things. One is how we condition young children to not deal with their emotions. You know,
that's especially true of boys, I think, in society.
And I was just going to say, historically, particularly in the UK, you know, stiff upper lip, you know, big boys don't cry.
Stop acting like a girl.
But also, I think very often when children are upset, parents will, for all the right reasons, you know, have a lollipop, have a this, have a that. it'll make you feel better. When actually, looking at the problem, and I'm not talking about every time I'm with very small children, but as people mature and grow, recognizing that it's perfectly natural to be anxious when you've got an exam.
Yeah.
It's perfectly natural to be really sad when something doesn't go your way.
Yeah.
And that by allowing those emotions to just be, to sit with them and being brave enough just to allow those emotions to have form, and then to think about what's the lesson here, or what can I take from this, where I'm not living in harmony with my core values, or I'm not living in harmony with my purpose. If you could help people as they mature recognise that by doing that you give yourself such a great deal of freedom and of expansion. And like all skills, you're not good at it to start with, but you get better with practice.
Yeah.
But most youngsters, I think, Jay, will avoid it because it's natural to avoid pain. You don't put your hand on a hot plate and keep it there, do you? You take it away. And I think we still do the same with emotions. And I think it's counterintuitive to sit with it. This hurts.
But more than that, you don't berate your body for giving you the pain signal to tell you that you're in danger. But we berate ourselves for feeling low, feeling sad, feeling angry at times. We feel, I'm such a bad person, I feel so angry. But you wouldn't say, oh my God, I can't believe my nerves actually told me to take my hand away.
But that's a societal thing, because as a society, we've made some of these negative emotions, the bad thing. It's not the negative emotions that are bad in and of themselves. As we've said, they're there to give you an opportunity to learn. It's how you manifest them. It's what you do with them.
Yeah, when I was in corporate land, there were quite a lot of angry man outbursts.
Yes.
Where, they were shouting and sort of physically oppressive in the moment because they've got angry about something. And I knew as a woman, here's a society norm, that if I demonstrated similar levels of, physical anger, I'm not talking about, hitting people or anything like that, but just, if I existed in my space in the same way that some of these men existed within their angry space, that I would not be viewed as powerful. I would be viewed as irrational. I would be, does she need to go to the funny farm? And that's because
is it hormones
female anger and male anger, again, society has different approaches for them.
What's interesting though is that as time goes on, I think more and more women are behaving simply like less hairy men.
and that's an obvious sort of pendulum swing, isn't it? To that sort of
they equate that if men get power from being like this, then I too will, rather than using their feminine energy and their capacity to do things differently, which would be actually much more powerful, that they've fallen into the trap of thinking that's the way to be.
And I think the other thing, and in fact actually this was my 14-year-old daughter was talking about it, and that they were having this sort of philosophical debate in class about emotions and so on. And she was very much on the side, wonder why, that you have a choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And they have drummed that into her from childhood. And to a one, all of her classmates could not understand what the hell she was talking about.
But that doesn't surprise me, because when I work with clients and I introduce the idea that everything that you do or say or don't do or say is your choice.
So happiness is a choice.
Absolutely. It certainly is. And that doesn't mean happiness in the sense that you're sitting there guffawing away and feeling like a Cheshire cat. And I suppose at times happiness is different things. Sometimes it's being contented. Sometimes it's definitely about living in the moment. It's about recognising, the value of small acts that people do, or nature and so on. And one of the reasons for having this debate is that have been so concerned. We've talked about this on so many occasions about how the level of happiness in the Western world is decreasing, and there are people in small settlements and villages in the third world who've got nothing, who actually, when they've done, the psychologists have gone and done the happiness questionnaire, they actually are much happier and more consistent.
Because when you say they have nothing, what you mean is they
have nothing materially. No. What they do have is community.
And connection.
And connection, not
all
only
the things that really mean
with each other, but also with the environment. And we've lost that, haven't we?
Yes, because if I wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning with my blood turning cold because I've had some sort of nightmare about what scares me the most, it's never about the loss of my shiny car. It's never about oh dear, I haven't got the latest season's clothes in the wardrobe. It's about what if my husband dies? What if I am without him?
Yes.
What if my friends don't achieve? It's about human connection. It's about all of the things that the Western world doesn't actually, on a daily basis, really value, and that's a sadness.
But if you look at the media, you look at that we are bombarded with really clever advertising. You've got the latest gizmo, or you've got a particular make of handbag. That's going to make you feel better, and that false premise is what feeds the if I go out and shop, I will feel better. The sadness is that you feel better in that moment. Remember, it's all about being in the moment, but as soon as you bought the purchase, it sits in the wardrobe or the cupboard and doesn't get used and doesn't make any difference.
I don't know, I think I would use a mop.
So I've set up a 7-day happiness challenge, and in that challenge, each day looks at strategies to help you feel happier day by day in the moment. Now, these things work if you use them. If you don't use them, they don't.
Yes.
But we'll be putting the link in the comments box, and I would urge you, take part in the happiness challenge.
Yep, it's all free, isn't it?
It is absolutely all free. But the other thing is, spread the happiness. Please share this to your friends and family, because I don't know of many people who live their life consistently happily. And I don't think there is anybody who, if they employed even one of these strategies in their life consistently, who would not find that it made an improvement. And if you involve them all, then, and they're very simple, they don't cost you anything other than being a little mindful about the way in which you operate in the world.
In fact, if there is anyone who goes through your 7-day happiness challenge and isn't happier at the end of it,
I'd love to
frankly, we'd like to hear from them.
Absolutely.
We don't think you exist.
We'd also like to know if you do the happiness challenge, which of the strategies work best for you and why you think that is. And if you're someone that's really struggling with a particular emotion, let us know, because there are lots of ways that we can suggest that might help. But I think one of the things that, I talked about apathy, and this work, nothing will work for me. If you don't actually give things a go, you'll never know.
You're making a choice not to make things work for you.
But you're also, I think sometimes people do that because they're frightened. But actually, if I take some action and it doesn't work, will I feel worse? And I can honestly say with these strategies, they are very, very simple on the surface. But actually what they do is they help you change the way in which you think, they help you change your beliefs about the world. And they have enormous power to make fundamental changes to the quality of your life. So please engage. Don't be apathetic. Actually, connect with us. Take action. Spread a little happiness. Do somebody a favour and send them links so that they too have the opportunity to engage in making their lives feel better. Because just like a stone rippling, throw a stone in a pond, the ripples move out. And happiness, just like pessimism and unhappiness, is contagious. If you spend time with people who are happy, then you will, by the very nature of the energy that they're exuding, you will feel happier in the same way spend some time with somebody who's depressed, and you feel that you want to slit your throat.
Sorry, I was doing a face. I mean, yes, no, go and
So, love to know exactly what you're going to engage, and maybe you've got strategies that help you feel happy in the moment. Share them with us, and we will make sure that we share them with other people too. Now, also on the website, lots of other things, lots of freebies. Remember, all our books are available there. Rachel's just finishing and editing the second in her, I think it's going to be a trilogy. So The Point of Me is on the website and on Amazon, as is Thriving Not Surviving, the 5 Secret Pathways to Happiness, Success and Fulfillment. And you can get a free digital download. There's also a free access to the TV show, all through genuinely-you.com. That's genuinely-you.com. But in this instance, what I'm asking you to do is to take the decision to do things that are going to give you the opportunity to be happier more consistently. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Thanks very much.
Get happy, people.